Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the National Western Stock Show as we celebrate the best 16 days in January and our 114th anniversary. We welcome you to the completion of the 83rd consecutive 4-H Catch-A-Calf program here at the National Western. This program started back in 1935. 10 calves were caught in the arena and then taken home from the show to be finished for market. They returned to the show the following year to be placed on show ring appearance alone. Over the years, many improvements have been made, making the program more practical, teaching members to produce market beef efficiently and to keep good records. After several years, rodeo calves were used for the actual calf catching here at the stock show. The calves to be fed were supplied later in the spring. Insurance was placed on calves in the program, so if there was a loss, replacement could then be made. 40 outstanding youth in the program caught calves this last year during one of the rodeo performances. They then met their sponsors and their calves for the first time on May 4th at a breakfast hosted by the National Western Stock Show. The meal was enjoyed, the folks got acquainted, instructions were given, and calves were taken home from the stockyards by members to start their feeding programs. The youth are responsible for feeding, care, and management of the calves from May until they show here at the National Western. The participants were in possession of their animals for a total of 252 days. Now, during this time, each youth writes their sponsor monthly, informing them of the progress of their calf and other activities that they're involved in. A sponsor's role is supplying the funding for an exhibitor's calf and giving them guidance through the project. A very close relationship develops between the youth and their sponsor as the year goes on. Many of our sponsors have been involved in this program for several years, if not decades, and we'd like to thank each and every one of them at this time. Please give them a round of applause. Now, as you will observe today, some of the many benefits of the program are the acquaintances and friendships that develop between sponsors and 4-H members and their families during this process. Exhibitors, as you can see, and their animals are lined up on the rail in numerical order. Before we begin with the official show, the showmanship, would everyone please rise, remove cover, and let's pay tribute to this great nation in which we live, and especially honor those men and women that are serving around the globe at this very moment for our freedom. The national anthem being sung by Lander, Wyoming's Shane Dawson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now that's the way we start off the National Western. Thank you, Shane Dawson of Lander, Wyoming. Great job. You're invited back anytime to sing here at the National Western in the livestock part of the equation anyway. In the state arena, we'd love to have you back anytime. Now let's get started with showmanship. If we could have the first class of showmanship, please exit the arena and head to the holding pen to get lined up. Give them just a few minutes to make their way out of the arena. The first class of showmanship, please report. If it'd be easier, I can mention your names, but you guys should know which heat you're in, right? So in this first heat, I'll just go ahead and mention the names real quick so in case they've forgotten. Rocky Ford's Benjamin Schifferl. Granby's Abby Haley. Scottsbluff, Nebraska's Emily Carpenter. Lander, Wyoming's Shane Dawson. Greeley, Colorado's Paige Hastings. From Cheyenne, Wyoming, Damian Mason. From Pierce, Colorado, Courtney Carr. From Wiggins, Colorado, Micah Goodman. From Byers, Colorado, Luke Runstrom. From Laurel, Nebraska, Caitlin Pearson. From Fort Collins, Colorado, Shelby Sinclair. From Colby, Kansas, Samantha Kaza. And from Steamboat Springs, Emmett Myring. That's the first class. If you heard your name, please make your way out. Why our participants are going out, I'll tell you about our judge. She hails from Chowchilla, California. Her name is synonymous with livestock and beef shows. Her name's Amanda Schnorr. She's a graduate of Oregon State University. Amanda and her two sisters grew up showing Angus cattle and showing steers as well. She now currently helps the family business with raising Angus cattle. How about a hand for our judge today, Amanda Schnorr? Amanda Schnorr. All 4-H Catch-A-Calf contestants are automatically entered in the showmanship phase of this educational experience. Showmanship involves the presentation of the calf and exhibitor for competition. It begins the day the exhibitor receives their animal, and all their hard work culminates at this event. All showmanship classes were broken by age and will be showing oldest to youngest. Class winners will be given a belt buckle sponsored by the SLW Ranch. And as I mentioned, our judge today is Amanda Schnorr. So as our first class comes in, I already mentioned who they are, their hometowns. We'll tell you more about those throughout the day. But the purpose of showmanship in this set of classes, and we have 3 of them today, is to present the animal in a manner that will develop the most favorable impression on the judge. Showing beef steers and heifers properly is an important part of any beef project and an extremely rewarding experience. Beef cattle showmanship not only generates enthusiasm and competition within the show ring, but also teaches other valuable lessons that can be applied to everyday life. These lessons include accepting responsibility, winning graciously, losing with dignity, and learning the amount of work and determination it takes to become a winner. So once again, this is class number 1, showmanship for the National Western Stock Show Catch-A-Calf program. And while we got just a few moments here, we'd like to thank all of our sponsors for the National Western Stock Show Catch-A-Calf program, in particular the award sponsors that'll be presented later on in the day. Record book sponsor Alicia Downing and Rob DeVoter. Sponsor relations Olivia Barden. Interviews, the Keel family. Showmanship, which is going on right now, SLR Ranch, Carcass Competition, the Wanaka family, the production phase, Ed Snell family, and Jim Kester Memorial Award, live placing, which is coming up after Showmanship, the Peebles family, the Herdmanship, which will also be announced today, the Colorado Elks Association. And if you'd like to learn more about the Catch a Calf program, if you're in the arena and you want to get your youngster involved in it, just visit nationalwestern.com/catchacalf. Speaking of that website, we are webcasting this live on the internet at nationalwestern.com. So welcome to all those that are watching live on the internet. We appreciate your support and wish you were here with us in person. Additional sponsors, the National Western Stock Show Catch a Calf program, include Don Norgren, Stock Show University, Sullivan Supply, Jeff Weichman, Vineyard Family, Bob Denny, Ryan Anderson, Joey Cusimano, John and Vanita Collier, Doctors Mike and Lori Scott, Purina Feeds, Paul Hill, and the steers were sourced from Wagon Hound Land and Livestock in Douglas, Wyoming. So big thank you to Wagon Hound Land and Livestock for supporting the Catch a Calf program and providing the animals. Also like to thank our National Western Stock Show Stadium Arena sponsors. They include Big Bubba's. Hey folks, when you get that urge for some great food while you're here at the National Western, don't forget the South Food Court, where you'll find mouth-watering ribs at Big Bubba's Bad Barbecue. Everything garlic at Garlicki's. Juicy hamburgers with all the fixins for that good old burger. Great service and great food at Big Bubba's. John Deere is the official agriculture and turf equipment provider of the National Western. Visit your local John Deere dealer, and remember to get great deals at John Deere, and nothing runs like a deer. Also want to thank Saunders Construction. Saunders was locally founded in 1972 and is now one of the largest and most stable construction companies in the state of Colorado. Saunders offers well-paid positions with opportunities for career growth. You can visit www.saunders.com, saundersinc.com, for information on career opportunities. Also want to thank Weaver Livestock and Weaver Leather. Weaver Livestock is committed to helping you be the very best you can be. Stop by their trailer on the hill. Check out their full line of show supplies backed by industry experts. Weaver Leather is devoted to fueling your enthusiasm for showing livestock and with educational clinics and innovative products here at the National Western. Also, a new sponsor this year for the Stadium Arena is the Colorado Farm Show. That's coming up at the end of the month, January 28th, 29th, and 30th at Island Grove Regional Park in Greeley. Over 300 vendors. Tons of educational breakout sessions each and every day. You can check out the new online brochure, and those here at the Stadium Arena can check out the brochure. They're down in the stands right now. If you want more information to see a complete schedule, visit ColoradoFarmShow.com. They're giving away $32,000 in college scholarships this year at their scholarship banquet. Once again, ColoradoFarmShow.com. January 28th, 29th, and 30th in Greeley. Once again, thanks to our sponsors of the Stadium Arena, Big Bubba's, John Deere, Saunders Construction, Weaver Leather Livestock, and the Colorado Farm Show. Those in Class 2, please make your way to the holding pen area. Class 2 exhibitors include Jade Painter, Bailey Fitzwater, Carson Miracle, Cody Miracle, Mason Roberts, Rihanna Cheney, Sheridan Cheney, Brianna Hurst Collins, Trey Shell, Reese Harvey, Judy Hawkins, Michaela Rippey, Colton Malcolm. Please make your way to the holding pen for Class 2 showmanship. Thank you.
Well, good morning. Excited to be back here. I was here yesterday, got to work with the juniors in the Red Angus Association, and then get to come back, and probably the exciting trip of the whole time is going to be working with these young people. Before we place your top five, I think we need to put our hands together for the National Western in terms of designing a program for these juniors that we see today. You know, every time I'm asked to judge a show, no matter what level it is, I think the most important thing that we need to take out of this is it's not about the winning, and it's not about who won or who's the best. I talked to every single kid out here in this division, and almost every single one of them told me they learned that it's work. We are teaching these young people a work ethic that they cannot get anywhere else. So compliments to you young people doing this. I'll give you some challenges here from here on out. In terms of judging showmanship, I look at feet placement, of course, and how well that animal is set up. I look how calm you are, how relaxed you are, And then at the same time, here in the end, it's who's the quickest to the punch in terms of getting that animal presented in terms of its best ability. And then one thing that I will tell each and every one of you, all of you, I think there was 10 in this group, are very calm and relaxed, and it looks like you've done this your whole life. So it looks like you have worked hard, you've done your homework at home in terms of taking care of these cattle. You've practiced, and sometimes the steer doesn't want to play ball and practice back with you out here, and sometimes it's just the luck of the draw. But this program that the National Western has and all the sponsors that are behind it, I can't tell you how appreciated it is to do this for the young people, how thankful it is to see these young people get to be a part of this. And it's pretty exciting for myself to work with these juniors and just be a part of a program that's going to change. I think they told me 38 or 39 exhibitors. You just change these 39 exhibitors for the rest of your life, because they told me work ethic, consistency, and there's no other thing to me, and I'm pretty biased to showing cattle. There's no other thing in this world that will teach those two things, and the sponsors of National Western just gave these kids that opportunity. So thank you, and I think we need to make sure that we thank every single sponsor that allows this program. So one more time, put your hands together for all the sponsors to allow this program to happen. So we're going to try to get a little more excitement here. I think these top 5 are extremely good. I think they have the need to be a great showman. They're calm. They got their steer set up. Their teammate is their steer, and he's passing the ball and doing what he needs to do. I talked to every single one of those over there and said what they kind of need to work on or what happened and why they placed where they did. But here, I think you could do a lot of different things, and I don't want you guys to get discouraged. You still got another chance to bring your steer back out here and get evaluated, so don't think and don't give up with this just in showmanship. For me, the young man, you're going to be 5th for me today, so you're going to bring your steer right over there. I think you do a great job in terms of eye contact. I think you're calm, you're smooth. Sometimes you get a little nervous and those steers don't want to set up like they need to. Just work with that a little bit. Just relax when you come out here in the market show. Get that steer presented to your best of your ability. We're going to come back here and grab the young lady here in the blue shirt. She's going to be our 4th place showman. The one thing, if you noticed about her, is she knows what she's doing, and she told me, this isn't my first time. I've done this a few times. And you could tell. Sometimes that steer wants to, and then sometimes I think she gets just a little picky in terms of feet placement. When those steers don't want to cooperate with you, it gets you frustrated, and they kind of start moving, and that's where she sits there in that 4th hole. 3rd is going to be the young lady right here. Very calm, very relaxed. Every once in a while, that steer's a little stretched out for me, and that's one thing we just need to work on, is when you bring him back out here in the market show, just make sure he doesn't get too stretched out. And here in our final 2, if you look at the intensity, you look how calm they are and how smooth. It looks like they've done this a few times. I think you could flip a coin and place it however you want, but for me, there's one that just sits in terms of having that extra pizzazz, that extra look in terms of how she holds that halter, moves around the head. 2nd's going to go to you. 1st is going to go to you. So congratulations.
We'll get to the official results here in just a few moments. Double check the placings here. So on this first class for showmanship, first place goes to Shelby Sinclair, Fort Collins, Colorado. In second, Shane Dawson, Lander, Wyoming. Third, Courtney Carr, Pierce, Colorado. Fourth, Caitlin Pearson, Laurel, Nebraska. Fifth, Emmett Myring, Steamboat Springs. Sixth, Abby Halley from Granby, Colorado. Seventh, Samantha Kaza, Colby, Kansas. Eighth, Paige Hastings from Breaksdale, Colorado. Ninth, Benjamin Shefferle from Rocky Ford, Colorado. 10th, Micah Goodman, Wiggins, Colorado. 11th, Luke Runstrom from Byers, Colorado. 12th, Emily Carpenter, Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Coming in the ring will be class number 2. We have Jade Painter from Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Bailey Fitzwater from Wheatland, Wyoming. Carson Miracle from Albion, Nebraska. Cody Miracle from Albion, Nebraska. Mason Roberts from Sutherland, Nebraska. Rihanna Cheney from Elwood, Nebraska. Sheridan Cheney from Elwood, Nebraska. Brianna Hurst Collins from Oglala, Nebraska. Trey Shell from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Reese Harvey from Lamar, Colorado. Judy Hawkins from Atwood, Kansas. Michaela Rippey from Ludell, Kansas. Colton Malcolm from Riverton, Wyoming. This is class number 2 of 3 in the showmanship for the Catch a Calf program. Once again, the purpose of showmanship is to present the animal in a manner that will develop the most favorable impression on the judge. Showing beef steers and heifers properly is an important part of any beef and an extremely rewarding experience. Beef cattle showmanship not only generates enthusiasm and competition within the show ring, but also teaches others the valuable lesson that can be applied to everyday life. These lessons include accepting responsibility, winning graciously, losing with dignity, and learning the amount of work and determination it takes to become a winner. Once again, this is class number 2 of 3. Showmanship, our judge from Chowchilla, California, Amanda Schnorr, a graduate of Oregon State University. She and her 2 sisters grew up showing Angus cattle and showing steers as well. She now helps the family business with raising Angus cattle. Our judge, once again, for showmanship and for our show today, Amanda Schnorr from Chowchilla, California. One more announcement from that first class. I did not mean to leave him out, but 13th place was Damian Mason of Cheyenne. My apologies. And if you have programs, the placings on Class 1 are as follows, just so we make sure we got everybody caught up here. 9, 6, 12, 2, 8, 13, 3, 10, 11, 4, 1, 7, 5.
As we wrap up here in the second group, please put your hands together for a very, very competitive group of young showmen. I went down the line and kind of asked them just a few questions, what they love about doing this program and what they did not like. And I would have to say 90% of it was they just said the opportunity to be able to do this. And one thing that they learned from it was time management. Hopefully you guys can help me on that because I still need help in time management. So if this program's helping you, take those skills that you're learning in time management, you'll use them for the rest of your life. And the one thing they told me they didn't like, but they knew it was a great opportunity, was the record book. So I would have to say this program is giving these young people an opportunity to learn things, not just about washing a cow and blowing it dry and feeding it morning and night. It's teaching these kids just responsibilities that they can take here in the near future. It's teaching them record keeping. It's teaching them how to do numbers in terms of converting certain things. There's one young man that says, I love the numbers. I did not know it took all that in terms of understanding how these cattle gain weight. Well, he's going to be a future nutritionist. And he's going to be one of those that's going to be designing feeds for all of us here in the back, learning how to put feeds together. So this program is really, really doing something good for these young people, and it's exciting just to visit with them. If you guys get a chance along ringside, just to ask these kids just a few things, it's kind of mind-blowing the opportunity that they got just in this year process. So pretty neat for me. I think it gets really, really competitive here at the end. I'm a person that's first view, first thing, it hits me hard. And every single one of you guys came in, you tried hard, you're calm, you're relaxed. You know, when you judge showmanships, and Ashley, that's just going to judge the market show next, she'll even tell you, you go to these shows, you judge shows, and there's always one or two animals that get loose. Well, in this program, I haven't seen one animal act up. I could see some bad teammates, and they're not wanting to pass the ball, and they're not wanting to stand still, but that happens. But you guys and being calm is the first thing, and I said that in the earlier showmanship. So compliments to all 13 of you in here just for being relaxed and enjoying it. You top six have the extra competitive edge. You have the extra pizzazz in terms of the way you hold that halter, the way you use that show stick as a tool. You don't depend on that show stick. You've got walk them cattle right into place. So whoever's taught you at home in terms of teaching you the techniques have taught you a very good job because I commend every single one of you. So we're going to just go from 6 all the way to first. Young man with the blue shirt on, you're going to be in my 6th hole, okay? You're probably one of the most relaxed persons out here, okay, and that's a compliment. But one thing I want you to just do when you come back out here and show in the market show, get that steer's head up just a nickel more. Sometimes he's so relaxed that the steer's not as alert as it needs to, but he does a really nice job. When we come back and find someone in the 5th hole, young lady with the green shirt, I guess olive green, maybe I'm colorblind, but you do a tremendous job in terms of eye contact, working that show stick, working around the head, work on feet placement just a little bit. You have a good calf. Be able to show him off just a little bit in terms of getting those front feet right underneath him. The next 4 is challenging because there's steers that want to work, and then there's steers that are push button in terms of just being easy. And for me, in terms of showmanship, it's how those kids can handle themselves. Me, when an animal gets acts up or not wanting to work, you get frustrated and you get irritated. But if you watch a couple of these kids, they're keeping their composure, they're keeping relaxed, they still know they're in the hunt. And so that's why it gets very, very close. For 4th place, a young man right here, out here in front, you're going to be our 4th. We're going to come back and grab the young man here. That's going to be our future nutritionist. You're going to be 3rd. He's the only one of all these kids that said he liked the record book. So along ringside, compliments to you. You like doing the record keeping, so you'll be good in paperwork. And then these two, it's very interesting because their calves are harder to show than them two, and they're not getting frustrated. They still stay relaxed. I think you could go a lot of different ways with these two. For me, it just comes down to personal preference in terms of maybe who got one set up just a nickel better than the other. 2nd is going to be you, and young man, you're going to be 1st here. Congratulations.
We'll get to the results in just a moment. Double check those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118 Here's results on class number 2. First place, Mason Roberts, Southern Nebraska. Second, Sheridan Cheney, Elwood, Nebraska. In third, Carson Miracle from Albion, Nebraska. Fourth, Colton Malcolm from Riverton, Wyoming. Folks, you can clap on these kids' names if you want. You're not going to hurt my feelings any, but I'm sure the kids will love to hear you. Judy Hawkins from Atwood, Kansas is fifth. In sixth, Cody Miracle from Albion, Nebraska. In seventh, Jade Painter from Scottsbluff, Nebraska. In eighth, Trey Shell from Colorado Springs, Colorado. In ninth, Rihanna Cheney from Elwood, Nebraska. 10th, Bailey Fitzwater from Wheatland, Wyoming. 11th is Brianna Hurst Collins from Ogallala, Nebraska. 12th, Reese Harvey from Lamar, Colorado. In your programs, the placings are as follows: 7, 10, 3, 6, 1, 9, 2, 11, 8, 12, 5, 13, and 4. Coming in the ring next, our final class in the showmanship phase of the National Western Stock Show Catch a Calf program. This will be class number 3. The exhibitors include from Parkman, Wyoming, Blake Edwards. From Rock River, Wyoming, Paige Dennett. From Sidney, Nebraska, Emily Miller. From McDonald, Kansas, Jasmine Benning. From Branson, Colorado, Ava Warner. From Cedar Ridge, Colorado, Grace Ann Prosser. From Trenton, Nebraska, Peyton Reif. From Weldona, Colorado, Americo Lorenzini. From Scottsbluff, Nebraska, Joel Painter. From Casper, Wyoming, Abby Forbes. From Briggsdale, Colorado, Dylan Johnston. From Ogallala, Nebraska, Kirsten Hurst Collins. And from Parkman, Wyoming, Cooper Justice. Once again, this is our final class in the showmanship phase. And the purpose of this is to present the animal in a manner that will develop the most favorable impression on the judge, which is Amanda Schnorr from Chowchilla, California. The showing beef steers and heifers properly is an important part of any beef project and an extremely rewarding experience. Beef cattle showmanship not only generates enthusiasm and competition within the show ring, but also teaches other valuable lessons that can be applied to everyday life. These lessons include accepting responsibility, winning graciously, losing with dignity, and learning the amount of work and determination it takes to become a winner. Once again, our third and final class in the showmanship, our judge Amanda Schnorr from Chowchilla, California, graduate of Oregon State University. She and her 2 sisters grew up showing Angus cattle and showing steers as well. She now helps with the family's business in raising Angus cattle. Amanda Schnorr from Chowchilla, California. Now, following our showmanship phase, we'll get into the live evaluation classes. And then we'll be telling you about our sponsors for each one of the animals as well.
We come to the last division of showmanship, and before these comments about each one of these kids, put your hand together for a great group of young people that came in here today. You know, it's fun because I got to visit with every single one of these kids, and the thing that I got out of it is they were just excited to be here, and it kind of brought me a sense of reality. I grew up coming to the National Western. I love Denver. It's like our vacation. Instead of going to Hawaii or Mexico, my family came and we showed cattle. So I think we take this for granted sometimes, of just standing here and you look at the old green uncomfortable seats up there, and you just look at the history of this, and these young kids are just excited to be here. So it got me kind of pumped up just visiting with them and been like, well, I take this for granted. I'm pretty pumped to be here as well. One thing that I'm going to take away from this today is the program is by far none first class. This event that you guys do for these young kids is exciting, but you are really molding the minds of the future. And I think sometimes we forget this is our future, and we got to teach them, we got to educate them, and we got to just help them. And the knowledge that they're getting out of this program, you guys are doing that. So compliments for everyone that's helping and part of this. You know, these young kids, if this is your first time really being a part of this cow showing experience, these young kids, instead of going to the movies, and going to the lake, or going on vacations with their family, instead of getting up early in the morning excited about doing something else, they're getting up early in the morning and they're going to feed their animals. There's a few of them out here that I said, what was the hardest thing that you had to do? And they looked at me and they said, honest, I did not like getting up in the morning to go feed. Okay? A lot of us don't like to get up early in the morning, but take that away. These 14, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds have a passion, they had a work ethic, and they knew they had to do it. So I think we should all take away that program is teaching these young kids, instead of sitting in front of a TV or iPad or a phone, they had to get up in the morning and take care of an animal. So this program is going to be very passionate to me, and just taking this all in today, it's very neat to be part of it. And I'm excited that the National Western gave me this opportunity to work with these young people. I'll probably remember this for a long, long time, because this was very, very neat experience. You kids along ringside, with those steers and the ones that are right now showing, I want you to thank people who got you here. I want you to make sure that you walk out of this facility and you just tell them thank you. Because the knowledge that you got from this, I know you're tired, you're hungry, you maybe want to go watch football. I don't know what it might be, but make sure that you thank your family for giving you the opportunity, as well as thank the sponsorships that allowed you to do this. With that said, please join me with one more round of applause, and we'll get you a top 5 here. Last division of the day, and probably the most challenging for me to sort through, because the young kids, they're good. They're just now working what they like to do and what they don't like to do. They're younger, and they're starting to figure out how to do this whole thing. And so if you watch these 5 and the ones that behind me, they were kind of nervous. And once those nerves got away, they were excited just to be here. So for me, in the 5th hole, it's just we need to work on feet placement, maybe being just a nickel better. One that's going to be 5th is this young lady right here. The one thing that I'm going to compliment you on is you're always smiling, like you're having fun. And sometimes I forget to do that. So good job to you. Just work on that feet placement when you come back in. I think we need to give an extra round of applause for this young lady that's going to come in 4th. She said that she was managing basketball and this steer project in basketball 1. And so for me, if I had a knee brace and I tore my MCL like she did, I probably would not be out here. So I think we need to give an extra applause, and just shows you how strong and tough she is. We come next to these 3, and they're very, very different. We got one that's having fun and smiling, but maybe not quickest to the punch. We got one that's very, very aggressive, and it looks like they've done this a few times, and they know how to get that calf set up where they need to. We got one that's just easy and smooth and doesn't get in a big hurry. So these three are very close. I think you could flip a coin and kind of sort however you want. For me, we're going to go third to the young lady right here. Love the smile. We just need to be a little quicker in terms of getting set up. Second, you're going to be second, and the young man right here is going to be first. Congratulations.
We'll get you those results in just a moment, so bear with us as they finish their placings on their sheets and get them to me. Up next, we got live placing. We'll get those in just a moment. Okay, here's the results on class number 3 for Showmanship. First place, Americo Lorenzini, Weldona, Colorado, and his fan club. Second place, Emily Miller from City, Nebraska. In third, Jasmine Benning, McDonald, Kansas. In fourth, Paige Dennett, Rock River, Wyoming. Fifth, Ava Warner, Branson, Colorado. Sixth, Grace Ann Prosser, Cedar Ridge, Colorado. Seventh, Abby Forbes, Casper, Wyoming. Eighth, Joel Painter, Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Ninth, Kirsten Hurst Collins, Ogallala, Nebraska. 10th, Peyton Reif, Trenton, Nebraska. 11th, Cooper Justice, Parkman, Wyoming. 12th, Dylan Johnston, Briggsdale, Colorado. 13th, Blake Edwards, Parkman, Wyoming. Need our first class for the live evaluation. Our first class, please report to the holding area outside the arena. They include Luke Runstrom, Joel Painter, Damian Mason, Michaela Rippey, Blake Edwards, Paige Hastings, Trey Schill, Paige Dennett, Micah Goodman, Judy Hawkins. Those participants, please report to the holding pen for class number 1 live placings. Once again, Luke Runstrom, Joel Painter, Damian Mason, Michaela Rippey, Blake Edwards, Paige Hastings, Trey Schill, Paige Dennett, Micah Goodman, and Judy Hawkins, please report to the holding pen for Class 1 on the live evaluation. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a hand for our judge for the showmanship phase? Once again, Amanda Schnorr from Chowchilla, California. Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate your work today. Our other judge that'll be coming in for the live evaluation on the classes, she hails originally from California. It's Ashley Judge. Ashley grew up showing Angus and Shorthorn cattle. She's a member of the national champion livestock judging team at Redlands Community College and reserve national champion team at Oklahoma State University. Ashley was also named high individual in Louisville at the national contest. She gained her master's at OSU and was the assistant judging coach for 3 years. Ashley now lives in Loveland, Colorado, and we are glad she moved to the state of Colorado. She helps run Beatty Livestock, and she owns her own marketing company as well. How about a hand for our judge for the live placing, Ashley Judge, from right here in Loveland, Colorado. So we'll wait until they are ready for us down on the other end. As soon as we get the thumbs up, we'll introduce you to not only the participants in the live evaluation, but also their sponsors. So today there are 4 classes which have been divided by the weights of the calves. The average weight of the 38 steers was 1,323, 1,323 pounds. The steers are all red Angus, and they are purchased from Wagon Hound Land and Livestock out of Douglas, Wyoming. And I mentioned our judge, Ashley Judge. She'll be evaluating the steer for muscling, finish, and their structural soundness. These are traits of economic importance to the beef cattle industry today. The National Western Stock Show is providing premium monies to the top steers in each class. The class winners are receiving plaques sponsored by the Peebles family. Just a quick reminder before we get going here. All Catch-A-Cap participants, once you've finished your live placing class, you need to proceed to the photo op area down on the other end of the arena and have your picture taken with your sponsor. We need to work through that pretty quickly. So each class, when you guys finish, go get your pictures taken with your sponsor. So here is the participants and the sponsors for class number 1. 6036 is Luke Runstrom. The weight of the animal is 1132. Sponsored by Tim Roberts and Broken Box Ranch. Next participant, 6030. That's Joel Painter. The weight, 1150. Sponsored by J and K Anderstrom and David Webster. Next participant is 6026, Damian Mason. The weight of his steer, 1169. Sponsored by Dawn and Cindy Fredrickson, as well as Dick and Sharon Lynch. Next up, 6034, Michaela Rippey. The weight, 1196. Sponsored by Susie Wallert and the National Western Stock Show Volunteers. Next up, 6010, Blake Edwards. The weight, 1224. Sponsored by Bruce Smart and the Colorado Elks Association. Next participant is 6016, Paige Hastings. The weight, 1224 of the animal. Sponsored by Nicole and Jeremy, Jim and Ellen DeBacher. Next up, 6038, that's Trey Shell. The weight, 1234. Sponsored by Scott Johnson and Flying Diamond Ranch. Next up is 6009, Paige Dennett. The weight, 1242. Sponsored by Dan and Sherry Reynolds. Next up in Class 1 is 6013, Micah Goodman. The weight, 1247. Sponsored by Sue Ann Schutz Rogers. And finally, rounding out class number 1 is 6017, Judy Hawkins. The weight, 1256. Sponsored by David Day, Evergreen Elks, and Don Treese of Central City Elks. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for this class number 1 and their sponsors in our National Western Stock Show Catch a Cap program. Once again, all Catch a Cap participants, once you finish this class, you need to go get your picture taken with your sponsor.
We want to welcome back one of our past participants, Emmy Kiefer. She was a participant last year. She's going to be walking around and speaking with some of the current year participants about their experience.
Okay, what do I say? Do I just go? Yeah, just don't ask a question. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Do you want to come to this girl? I'm going to come to you first. Yeah. What? I'm just going to ask you like small questions like what's your name, what's your steer's name, what do you like about this, what do you like about this, how would I say, program. Oh. So, what's your name?
My name's Shelby Sinclair.
Okay, what's your steer's name?
This is Rio.
And what do you think you learned most from the Catch Calf program?
Out of all the programs I've been involved with, the Catch Calf program has just taught me the most about the cattle industry in general, and it's really just expanded my knowledge of the cattle industry, which is so amazing.
Thank you.
I gotta borrow the really tall kids.
Hey, Dylan, can you come into someone? Who should we go to next? You walk, I'll follow you, and then I'll interview you. Dylan, he's kind of cute. Okay, I'm gonna come talk to you.
You guys talk to me?
Yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna ask little questions like what's your name, like what's one more question we should ask him? So what's your name?
Mason Roberts.
Okay. I wonder if they can hear us. Can they hear us over the intercom?
Yes. I would talk a little bit louder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's your steer's name?
Dougie.
Okay. And what shows did you go to this year with your catch calf?
I took him to my county fair.
Okay. Is that good? Or do they need
You
to
gotta
like
talk into it.
me? Am I not?
Yeah, just you guys.
Okay. People probably can't hear us, huh?
Next one you guys do, I'm gonna do it live. So.
Okay. So talk into it so it sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay. Okay. Who should we go to now, Dylan? You pick.
Oh, no, you pick.
No, you.
You.
Pick someone who will like speak loud.
That chicken McRib down there. I'm in.
Okay. Who?
Chicken McRib.
With the blue?
Yes, right here.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna ask you a few questions. You have to speak loud into the microphone. So you got this? Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna ask you like, what's your name? What's your steer's name? And what's your favorite part about having your steer was? Okay. So what's your name?
My name's Caitlin Pearson.
Okay. What's your steer's name?
MacGyver.
And what's your favorite part about having your steer this year?
Going on long walks with our heifers all summer.
Perfect. Thank you. I don't think I speak into it loud enough. Okay, thank you. Should we go across? Should I read the gingerbread man?
Yes.
So when you go up and ask them, I'd ask them stuff like, tell me about your favorite memory, favorite
Okay.
experience.
Yeah, I mean,
Would you
don't-
recommend
don't have
this
to tell
to the
them
next
you're
program?
asking them the question.
Well, no, well. Okay,
It just sounds more natural if you don't.
okay.
Yeah, just go up to someone and say, we just have a few questions for you, and then
All right.
just go after it.
Okay. So, like, favorite experience?
Yeah, anything, favorite experience, anything you can
Like
think
favorite,
of.
okay,
Favorite
alright.
memory,
Okay.
just anything people.
Okay, guys, I'm coming in. Okay. So I have a few questions to ask you guys first. Do you want me to enter both? I'll do both of you guys. Okay, so what's your name?
Emmett Myring. Cody Miracle.
Okay, and what's your favorite memory you have with your steer?
Favorite memory?
You don't have to go first. Either you two can.
I don't know. Just probably State Fair and showing at with all the other catchy calves at State Fair.
Yeah, State Fair was a good time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll go
Is that a better
across.
one?
Yes.
Now we gotta go to this side, Dylan.
I know.
We're just coming around. I don't feel like people can hear us talking.
Yeah, I would just really encourage you to talk loud and tell the person to talk loud too.
Okay.
How about you have the whole conversation in the microphone? Just like hold it in between you guys.
Should I start breathing? Hey, yo, diggity dog with this big sexy red rooster. Okay.
You may ask this person a couple questions and then go live on that one. You can do, what's your, say, no, do this. What's your name? Tell me where you're from. So then you have to answer that. That's an easy one for me to answer. And then say something, what did you gain from this experience? What's your favorite memory? What was your favorite show?
Tell me what? What those steers are?
Yeah, you can do that. Or just anything. Be like, where are you from?
Emmy,
And then
okay.
that's okay.
No one can hear us, huh?
No, we can hear you, but your mom said to ask the questions nice.
What?
You're like shouting, you're like aggressively asking them questions. What is your name? Be nicer. Have a little, do your princess voice. What is your name? Sing
What
to the mic.
Should I?
Do it. I swear to God.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions. One thing, can you talk? Just talk. Make sure you talk loudly into the microphone.
Okay, so what is your name?
Cooper Justice.
Okay, what is your steer's name?
Apache.
What's your favorite memory with your steer?
Probably county fair whenever he was, I don't know.
And what's your favorite thing about the Catch a Calf program?
The opportunities you get whenever you get the steer and the scholarships that you can earn from it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What's the name of the big red subsidy listed in there?
Now you want to balance? This one? Okay, no. I must ask the same question twice. Am I good? Okay. So, I'm just going to ask a few questions. Just speak loudly into the microphone.
Okay, so what's your name and where are you from?
My name's Brianna, and I'm from Ogallala, Nebraska.
What's your steer's name?
My steer's name's Willie.
And what's your favorite memory with your steer?
My favorite memory would probably be whenever he gets out, he finds a pile to go jump in of snow and stuff.
Thank you.
Then you talk. You talk. Dylan, your turn to talk. Grab the microphone and talk. Come on, Dylan. Fine, I won't do this to you. Okay. Think we're good, or should we go to more people?
Let's do one more. Yeah, girl.
Okay. Okay. No, you're okay.
And when you get done, just stand there just for a second until I say.
Conversation and not interrogation.
Okay. I'm coming in. You tell me when you're ready and it's going.
Okay.
Is it my turn?
Yes, I'm just gonna ask you a few questions. Just
All right, I'm
speak
ready.
loudly.
All right, I can do
Okay.
that.
Okay, so where are you from and what's your name?
I'm from Lander, Wyoming, and my name is Shane Dawson.
Okay, and what's your steer's name?
His name is Courthouse Pete.
And what's your favorite memory you've had with your steer?
Oh, that's a tough one. Shoot, I don't know. There's so many. I don't even know if I could pick.
Okay, maybe what's one thing that you've learned from the Catch a Calf program?
Hard work, for sure. Having patience, it's huge. It'll help you so much in life.
Right. Okay.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Well, good morning over here as we get into the live judging of the Catch a Calf show. I got to work with these kids last year in Showmanship, and I'm thoroughly excited to be back here this year and get to actually sort through the steers that are provided, and man, we're kicking it off in an awesome, awesome way. I think the steers that I have here at the top end are what you expect whether you're judging any show in the country in terms of good market steers. They're practical, good in terms of their rib. They have some muscularity, still balance extremely well. There's some differences among them just in terms of the way they get out and go, and I think that that's the decision that needs to be made out here today. I think it's splitting hairs between the two of them, though. Young lady, you're going to win this class. Young man, you're going to be second today. I think the difference for me is when you get these steers out and you set them in motion, sweetheart, go ahead and walk your steer. You set these steers in motion, and this steer's laid back better in the angle to his shoulder. He's one that gets out and goes with more flex and ease out of his hip and his hock. The way he sets down to the ground off of his rear pasterns. Is he maybe as sleek up there at the top side of his neck as the steer that stands directly behind her? No. Is he one that maybe has as much power and mass and dimension out through the upper portion of his hip and down through his stifle as the steer directly behind him? No. But again, I think that both of those steers have muscle. He's plenty adequate enough in that fashion. And for me, the difference is when you get him out and you set him in motion. Young man back here, give him a round of applause. He's done an awesome, awesome job with this calf. He's highly, highly presented in terms of his hair. He's one that I can tell he's spent a ton of time with working on him to get him to this point. I love the muscle and the mass and the shape and dimension that this steer has up high when you get in from behind him. I think he's one that certainly is good in terms of his degree of finish, really, really good in terms of his rib. He's one that when you really study him, you get him out and you set him in motion. He's more upright in the angle to his shoulder. He's a little bit smaller footed and a little bit frailer, which also hinders him just getting out and going with the flexibility off of that hip and hind leg that I like to see. But that's an exceptionally, exceptionally good market steer. Young man, you've done a tremendous job with him. Be very, very proud. As we roll down and further, the next two steers, young man has one here that I think if he could just have a little bit more grow in him, he runs with those top two steers. He's just awfully, awfully moderate in terms of his kind, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's just a little bit quicker. He's a little bit more jammed up, definitely has plenty of muscularity and mass and dimension, and I like his easy feeding, practical look. Again, another one of those that the young man has done a tremendous job with him. Give him a round of applause. Young lady has one here next that we talked about. He's been a little bit of a struggle for her, and I told her I thought that they had done an awesome, awesome job managing him. He's probably not the most structurally correct steer in the world. He's maybe a little bit tighter in the way he's built off either end. That one's muscular, he's powerful, he's one that if you take him to the rail has a lot of value. He just needs to be changed from a structural standpoint, and like we talked about, she knows that he has his problems, and I think she's done an awesome job of managing those problems in him and not trying to feed him to an excessive weight, but keeping him where he needed to be. I talked to the next two young individuals about these steers. I love both of these steers. They're so long and attractive and sound structured. They get out and go with flexibility. They balance exceptionally well from the side. Unfortunately, from a comparative standpoint, they're lacking some of the extra muscularity, the mass, the dimension, the extra degree of finish that some of those steers at the top end of this group are. Very sound structured, good made calves that maybe just didn't quite get there from a mass and dimension standpoint. Young lady, you can go ahead and roll your steer out next. Another one of those that she and I talked, he just maybe hasn't filled out the way he needed to, but I think she's done an awesome job with this steer. He's so long-bodied and level in the way he's constructed. He's so sound when he sets to the ground. I think an extra degree of finish on him would definitely help him just in terms of having a little bit more on him, making him a little bit more filled out in that heart and that flank. But again, another exceptional job by that young lady. Next two, both of you guys can come out. Steers that I think are really practical in terms of their build. Young lady has one that has a ton of rib and some mass. He's a little bit plainer in terms of his look, and again, maybe one of those that just doesn't match up from a muscularity standpoint. Young man coming out next has done an awesome job on this one's hair coat. He definitely looks the part out here. He just is really lightweight. He just needs more time to get there, and unfortunately today that extra time isn't going to be provided. And then the young man that's going to round out this group, similar story. Long, extended, sound structured steer. Both of those young men told me that they're a little bit of finicky eaters, and that makes it hard, but that's part of the game. I think they've done an exceptional job getting those steers to the point that they're at. Let's give all of those kids a huge round of applause.
Up next will be Class 2. Here's the results on Class number 1. And the live evaluation classes and their sponsors. First place, 6017, Judy Hawkins, sponsored by David Day, Evergreen Elks, and Don Trace, Central City Elks. Remember to go out and get your pictures taken. Second place, 6038, Trey Shell, sponsored by Scott Johnson and Flying Diamond Ranch. In third, 6030, Joel Painter, sponsored by J and K Anderstrom and David Webster. In fourth, 6016, Paige Hastings, Nicole and Jeremy, Jim and Ellen DeBacher. In fifth, 6026, Damian Mason, sponsored by Don and Cindy Fredrickson, Dick and Sharon Lynch. In sixth place, 6013, Micah Goodman, sponsored by Sue Ann Schutz Rogers. In seventh, 6009, Paige Dennett, sponsored by Dan and Sherry Reynolds. In eighth, 6034, Michaela Rippey, sponsored by Susie Woolert National Western Stock Show volunteers. In 9th, 6036, Luke Runstrom, sponsored by Tim Roberts, Broken Box Ranch. In 10th, 6010, Blake Edwards, sponsored by Bruce Smart, Colorado Elks Association. As I mentioned, coming up next will be our second class of 4 in the live evaluation. The class includes 6012, Abby Forbes, weight 1275, sponsored by Ron Carpenter, Colorado Elks Association. 6033 is Peyton Reif, the weight 1295, sponsored by Kevin and Sandy Turasek, Stacked Lazy 3 Ranch. Next up, 6020, Dylan Johnston, the weight 1321, sponsored by Brett and Marge Ginther, Peyton Huss, and Dylan Mortensen. 6019 is Kirsten Hurst Collins, weight 1322, sponsored by Jeff Vogel, Vogel and Associates, and Raw Wall Ranch. 6028 is Emily Miller, weight 1322, sponsored by Kent Vance, Colorado Elks Association. 6037 is Benjamin Schifferl, weight 1327, sponsored by Kent Dawkins and Van Schack Land Company. 6011 is Bailey Fitzwater, the weight 1330, sponsored by Bill Wanaka and the Wyoming Cowboy Club Calf Association. And Bill is down in front here somewhere, I just saw him. 6031, Caitlin Pearson, the weight 1337, sponsored by our ring steward Kenny Burns and the Colorado Elks Association. 6005 is Rihanna Cheney, the weight 1349, Biff Eccles, Idaho Springs Elks, Jeanette Rogers, Golden Elks. And finally, 6025 is Cody Miracle, weight 1349, sponsored by Bruce Schneider, GH Phipps Construction. Ladies and gentlemen, this is class number 2. How about a round of applause for these exhibitors and their sponsors participating in the Catch a Calf program. Once again, our judge is Ashley Judge, originally from California. She grew up showing Angus and Shorthorn cattle. She's a member of the National Champion Livestock Judging Team at Redlands Community College and Reserve National Champion Team at Oklahoma State University. Ashley was also named High Individual in Louisville at the national contest. She gained her master's at OSU and was the assistant judging coach for 3 years. Ashley now lives right here in Colorado in Loveland, and she helps run Beatty Livestock. And she also owns her own marketing company. Our judge, once again, is Ashley Judge from right here in Loveland, Colorado.
You're good. Go, go. Oh, are you buying? Tell me to go buy one of them. I know
I'm going to buy that scale with the wheels that go with it.
Keep in mind the 2 calves will be selected at the conclusion of today's show as the overall grand and overall reserve grand champion National Western Stock Show 4-H Catch-A-Calf. They'll then be qualified for the National Western Stock Show's auction of junior livestock champions, which will be held on Friday, January 24th. These 2 calves will be designated grand champion and reserve grand champion Catch-A-Calves, and they'll be selected using a point system which includes record book, which is 50 points, sponsor relation, which is 40 points, interview portion, which took place earlier, that's 25 points. The production phase is worth 10 points. The live placing going on right now is worth 10 points. Showmanship, which took place earlier, was worth 20 points. And if they met deadlines, there was 5 points awarded for that. Total possible score is 160. The 2 calves must have placed in the top 4 in the live placing phase today. So the top 2 is going to get to go to the junior livestock sale. That's pretty cool. And just a reminder to all participants, you need to pick up your record book and tack release from the Beef Superintendent's office at the conclusion of today's show.
Here, I'll get out of your chair. You're fine. Because I bought you $11 thing for lunch. No, I thought they were for free over there. I know it's there now.
Why did you take me over there? What?
Want to take a picture with me again, Mister?
Like, yeah.
You don't want to? Gotta have something pretty in there. Yeah. Taste that one, dude. I should get Molly down there. I should get to you to take a picture.
After you're done. It's after it's done. It's not right now.
No, when it's picture time.
No, it's picture time.
After this class, we gotta go down there and take a picture. Just a quick announcement. Want to remind everybody the official livestock photographer for the National Western Stock Show is Show Champions. You can check out the pictures taken in the arena and at the backdrop and purchase pictures online at showchampions.com.
You butt dial me.
I gotta go get
Just a reminder, all Class 3 participants, please be in the holding pen. Class 3, make sure you're in the holding pen.
Another phenomenal group of steers and young kids out here. Before I go any further, let's give all of them a really nice round of applause. I think from my perspective at least, there's a little bit more challenge to work through in this group because I think that there's a lot of good steers in here, and I think that they all have things that you have to like about them and maybe some things that you'd like to tweak about them. That being said, there's one individual out here that hit me hard from the get-go, and I just think he's the most fault-free and he's the most complete. Young man up there at the very front, you're going to win this class today. Let's give him a round of applause. You know, comparatively speaking, that steer maybe doesn't have as much hair as some of these other calves out here, but that's the best one. He's the most complete. He's the most fault-free. He looks like a market steer. He's appropriate in terms of his degree of finish. He gets out and goes with flexibility. He balances well. He's muscular. He's stout, and he's powerful. And I think what this young man mastered probably the best of anybody in this group is he fed that steer the way that steer needed to be fed. That one is exactly where he needs to be in terms of his degree of finish, for his weight, for his mass, and his dimension, and he still looks fresh and youthful up through his head and his neck. He doesn't look too mature or like he's been pushed too far. I think that steer easily wins this class. Young man has done an exceptional job with him. Let's give him a round of applause. After that, I think it can become more challenging to kind of piece together what you want to do. The young man that stands directly behind him is going to stand second, though, today. I think that that's a steer that you can tell he's worked with exceptionally hard. I love how well that one balances from the side. I think he's one that gets out and goes with some flexibility. He's square in the way he goes out of his hip, especially in comparison to the steer directly behind him. I don't think he's maybe quite as sleek about his head and his neck as some of the other steers out here. I'd like to drop him down in his flank and maybe make him just a shot softer in the center portion of his body as well, but I think that that's an exceptional steer, and like I said, you can tell that that young man has put a lot of time and effort into that one. Young lady right here is going to be third today. That's just a really practical, good built market steer. He handles exceptionally well. He's got a big back. He's plenty massive and dimensional. He's one that I think is just a little bit shorter and plainer up through his head and his neck. He's maybe not quite as extended from that shoulder forward, and for all the extra rib and mass and dimension that he has up high, I wish he matched it at the ground. He's maybe just a little bit frailer in terms of his foot and his bone. I'd like to stouten him up just a little bit there. All three of those steers are exceptionally good. Give those three young people a nice round of applause. As we turn to the next steers, young lady is going to roll out with one that I think has parts and pieces that you really have to like. Unfortunately, all those parts and pieces maybe just don't blend together the way they need to today. I think he's one that's got a big set of feet and legs underneath him. I think he's one that handles really well. He has some muscularity and dimension. He's one that you get him on the side view, he's maybe just a little bit plainer. He's a little bit deeper in through his chest in relation to his flank. He doesn't hold himself together quite as well when you set him in motion, just in terms of how all of his pieces blend together. He's maybe just a little bit shallower through his body, maybe not quite as stout and powerful from behind. Young lady that comes out next, if you could just not walk this steer, I think he could easily win this class. He's got a huge top in him. He handles awesome. He's exceptionally good from his shoulder forward. He's so massive and dimensional. You set him in motion and he's just too upright in the angle of his shoulder for me. He's too rigid in the way he goes off of those rear two. I just wish he got out and took a longer, more ground covering stride for me to really solidify putting him any higher in this group. I talked to the next two individuals, young lady, really practical, good market steer in terms of finish and mass and dimension, maybe falls out just a little bit from a balance perspective, and like I talked to her, I wish he went out and went more flexible out of his hip and his hind leg. He wants to duck up underneath himself ever so slightly there. Similar story, young man, just a really practical practical, good type of a market steer that he's done an awesome job feeding to the point that he's at. He's one that's a little bit plainer in terms of his look. He's one, too, that wants to duck his pins when he gets up underneath himself ever so slightly. Just maybe make him a little bit sleeker and a little bit longer and more extended. Young lady that comes out next, both these young ladies, go ahead and bring your steer out as well. Really, really long, sound-structured steers, and I talked to both of them about it. I love their calves for how sound they are, how they get out and go, how youthful and fresh they look. They just need to be built with a shot more muscle, a shot more mass and dimension and rib to really run any higher in this class, especially at this weight. And then the young lady that's going to round out this group, I talked to her as well. You know, a steer that I think has got muscle. I think he's adequate in his degree of finish. He wants to get more upright in the angle to his shoulder, so he wants to drop that head. He wants to be a little bit more out in terms of his chest. And you get in from behind him, maybe just doesn't match up with some of these other ones. But again, an exceptional group of kids. Let's give them all a round of applause.
Up next, we'll move to Class 3, but here's the results on Class 2. First place, 60-37, Benjamin Schifferl. Kent Dawkins, Van Schack Land Company is the sponsor. In second, Cody Miracle, sponsored by Bruce Schneider, G.H. Phipps Construction. In third, Emily Miller, 60-28, sponsored by Kent Vance, the Colorado Elks Association. Fourth, 6005, Rihanna Cheney, sponsored by Biff Eccles, Idaho Springs Elks, Jeanette Rogers, Golden Elks. Fifth, Caitlin Pearson, 6031, sponsored by Colorado Elks Association and Mr. Kenny Burns. In sixth, 6011, Bailey Fitzwater, sponsored by Bill Wanaka and the Wyoming Cowboy Club Calf Association. Seventh, 6020, Dylan Johnston, sponsored by Brett and Marge Ginther, Peyton Huss, and Dylan Mortensen. Eighth place, 6033, Peyton Reif, sponsored by Kevin and Sandy Tursek, Stacked Lazy 3 Ranch. Ninth, 6012, Abby Forbes, sponsored by Ron Carpenter and the Colorado Elks Association. 10th, 6019, Kirsten Hurst Collins, sponsored by Jeff Vogel, Vogel Associates, and Rawwell Ranch. Up next, as I mentioned, Class 3. Here are the participants and the sponsors in this class. 6021 is Cooper Justice. The weight 1357, sponsored by Mark Moon, Jim Krimmers, Wyoming Past Elks president. 6015 is Reese Harvey. Weight 1368, sponsored by Tom Kostalecki. 6023, Colton Malcolm. The weight 1371, sponsored by Ben Duke and the Denver Ag and Livestock Club. 6003 is Emily Carpenter. The weight 1373, sponsored by Beth and Tom Anderson, as well as Jeff Blair and the Adams County Farm Bureau. 6006 is Sheridan Cheney, the weight 1374, sponsored by John Brown of Wilcoxon and Brown. 6027 is Emmett Myring, the weight 1383, sponsored by Pat and Kathy Shaw. 6024 is Carson Miracle, the weight 1384, sponsored by Mark and Carolyn Neely. 6029 is Jade Painter, the weight 1389, sponsored by Daniel Venegas and XL Energy. And finally, 6032 is Grace Ann Prosser, the weight 1392, sponsored by Rex Emmons and the Colorado Elks Association. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a hand for class number 3 and their sponsors? Once again, our judge is Ashley Judge from California originally, but she lives in Loveland, Colorado now. She grew up showing Angus and Shorthorn cattle, was a member of the National Champion Livestock Judging Team at Redlands Community College, and was reserve National Champion team member at Oklahoma State University. Ashley was also named High Individual in Louisville at the national contest. She gained her master's at OSU and was the assistant judging coach for 3 years. She currently helps run Beatty Livestock, and she also owns her own marketing company. Once again, our judge for our live placing phase of the National Western Stock Show Catch a Calf Show, Ashley Judge from Loveland, Colorado. Just a reminder, when you get done with your placings, make sure you get your sponsor pictures taken.
Judge comes any earlier before we get the signal, don't let him talk. Marshall gave me the orders. They're interviewing Jane.
Perfect. Well, as long as, because she's over in that area, right? Because I say, because she'll be able to cut after
Yes.
this. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So I'm giving orders, ain't I? For a
Yes, you
flunky.
are.
You get paid the big bucks to do so.
What does petting the tail mean? Is that she's pregnant? Yeah, I thought maybe that shows you the fat on there too. No, but I think she just tried to make sure she doesn't. Surprise! Yeah, okay. Yep.
I got a text. A couple we went to church with in Buffalo bought
She was like maybe 8th or something. She wasn't real high. I forgot she'd already won.
Okay. It's a darn good show.
Thank you. I think they look pretty good. 6th. She was 6th. 10. Not bad. Is there 9 in this class?
Yes.
Thank you. You're doing awesome.
Is it Facebook Live okay for awards?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, sounds good. How are you? You tired yet? Well, you're about to moving forward.
Yeah, almost. That's right.
Weekend 2. Yeah.
Yeah. We're on class 3 of 4. So getting closer.
And then this is what
Yep, so I would say probably another hour, really. 45 minutes?
Yeah, at least 45.
Yeah.
45 to now. Okay,
That's what I'd say. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome.
If Sheridan gets first, she wins the whole thing.
She's got 80 weight, buddy. She's won without even having the live placing. If she was less than 4th, because you have to be 4th or higher, it would have taken her out.
Oh, so she has one? I mean, has she won the whole thing now?
See, she's in the top 3, so see how she's already winning without even her live placing. This is so then she'll win for sure unless she's not in the top 4. So if she's less than 4th, then she's
Yeah. Oh. No. I was like, wait. So if Shane gets better than her, how can she win? That's what I was
that
thinking.
it could be there, but she's for sure in the top 2.
Yeah. Unless something really weird comes out, like a weird decision, which I don't see happening. But.
Which one do I need to grab?
Whatever one you would like.
Doesn't matter.
Take them both. No.
I think that we have some pretty phenomenal calves out here in this group and all the way through, even down to the steers that are going to be at the bottom end of this group. They're steers that I think are market ready, and these kids have gotten them to the point where they need to be. And I think that this is awfully tough and awfully close. And I'll just tell you how I see them. And I think that there's 2 of them, nothing to take away from the young man at the very front. But these 2 steers directly behind him, I think both have their pros and both have their cons, and they're both exceptionally good. And I don't think you could go wrong either way. Like I said, I'm just going to tell you how I like them, how I see them, and kind of where I put my priorities. And I think that there's one that's the show calf of the pair that maybe I just have got to change him structurally. Then there's another one that's probably maybe not the show calf, but a little bit more practical and a little bit sounder structured. And I guess that's a decision that you have to make when you get them out and you set them in motion. There's one that I got to side with. Young lady, you're going to win the class today. Young man in the middle, you're going to be second. And like I said, it's tiny cutting hairs out here. And when you set them in motion, that's the difference. And not to say that the young lady's calf is one that's perfect from a structural standpoint, but he's one that I think gets out and better utilizes the angle to his shoulder. I still think he has more flex in terms of his hock and the way he goes out of his hip and his hind leg. Is he as freaky and cool up through his front end as the steer directly behind him? Definitely not. He's probably not as clean in through his chest, but that that steer puts a lot of rib and a lot of mass and a lot of muscularity on a framework that can still get out and go with some flexibility. He's fresh when you get on top of him, when you look at him through his front end. I think that that's the steer, in my opinion, from a structural standpoint, that still keeps all of his pieces together. Young man that's going to be second today, I love this steer on the standstill. Absolutely love him. That's your show steer. He's so good looking, and that young man has done such a good job of taking care of him to this point. He's the one that you're drawn to automatically when he comes out here, when that young man gets him on the standstill, and he does such a good job of getting him out here and getting him shown. That steer wants to be more upright in the angle to his shoulder. He's shorter and tighter in the way his hip is constructed, and he's just more upright in terms of the way he's built in his hock and his rear pasterns. If I could just change the running gears underneath that one and let him just get out and go with more freedom and flexibility, I think that that one is lights out. And I think that that's a decision to be made there. Pick him and choose him how you like. That's just how I see him and how I like him today. Both of those steers are exceptionally good. Let's congratulate both of them. Nothing to take away from the young man here at the front end. You have an awesome steer as well that would have probably won or been right up there in the last two classes. He's awesome in terms of his rib. He balances so well from the side. He's one that I still think has plenty of mass and dimension. You know, comparatively speaking to those other two steers, he's not quite as sleek about the top side of his neck. He's one that I think maybe just falls out in terms of his balance, especially when you set him in motion. He wants to get a little bit shorter and lower fronted, a little bit tighter up and through his flank, but still a really nice market steer in his own right. The next two steers that come out, young men, awesome steers in terms of length and extension and performance. Both of you guys can come out. Long and extended, sound. I love the way these ones get out and go. I love the flexibility they have at the ground, the way they set down to the surface. Young men were awesome to talk to and knew their projects exceptionally well. You know, comparatively, when there's this much quality and the cattle are this good, they maybe just don't have the extra muscle, the extra mass, the extra power of the steers at the top end of this class, but those are still exceptionally good steers, and like I said, I love the way both of them get out and flex and move. Young lady comes out next, really nice market steer, really practical in terms of his build. You know, maybe just doesn't have the extra look and the extra just mass and dimension of some of these other steers, but one that she's done an exceptional job of getting to this point and getting into a market point where he looks the part and he looks the part at his weight. Similar story with the young man. Go ahead and pull him around. A really long, extended type of a steer. I love the way he gets out and goes out of his front end. He's one that I think handles really nicely. He's maybe just a little bit plainer in terms of his look. He wants to get flatter and narrower when you get in from behind him, but certainly one that the young man has done an awfully nice job with. As we get down to these two young ladies here at the end, I talked to both of them. I think that they've done an awesome job of getting these steers fat. They've gotten them to a point where they're market ready. They have some muscle and dimension. You know, structurally speaking, they want to turn out a little bit up front. They're maybe just not as fluid in terms of their movement as some of these other steers, maybe give up just some in terms of balance. But those young ladies have done an awesome job in terms of getting those steers to an acceptable weight and have a correct degree of finish on them to be valuable animals when they get taken to the rail. Let's give all of those kids a really nice round of applause. An awesome top end of steers.
Up next, our final class of the live evaluation class 4. Here's the results on class 3. First place, 6006, Sheridan Cheney, John Brown, Wilcoxon and Brown. As the sponsors, second place, 6023, Colton Malcolm, sponsored by Ben Duke and the Denver Ag and Livestock Club. In third, 6024, Carson Miracle, sponsored by Mark and Carolyn Neely. Fourth, 6015, Reese Harvey, sponsored by Tom Kostalecki. In fifth, 6027, Emmett Myring, sponsored by Pat and Kathy Shaw. Sixth, 6032, Grace Ann Prosser, sponsored by Rex Emmons and the Colorado Elks Association. In seventh, 6021, Cooper Justice, sponsored by Mark Bone, Jim Kremers, and the Wyoming past Elks president. In eighth place, 6029 Jade Painter, sponsored by Daniel Venegas with XL Energy. 9th, 6003 Emily Carpenter, sponsored by Beth and Tom Anderson, as well as Jeff Blair with Adams County Farm Bureau. Up next, as I mentioned, this is Class 4. Here are the exhibitors and their sponsors and the weights of the animals. 6004 is Courtney Carr, the weight 1396. Leslie Baldwin, Betcher Foundation is the sponsor. 6007 is Samantha Kaza, the weight 1397, sponsored by Trina and Kirby Kleiman, Dry Creek Livestock. 6039 is Shelby Sinclair, the weight 1398, sponsored by the one and only Dr. John Matsushima, folks. Huge sponsor of the Catch It Calf program and recently turned 99 years old. He's been a huge supporter of Catch It Calf and also wrote a book about the Catch It Calf program. How about a hand for Dr. John Matsushima? And happy birthday. 6035 is Mason Roberts, the weight 1410, sponsored by Joe Adams. 6018 is Brianna Hurst Collins from Oglala, Nebraska, sponsored by John and Sally Corkle, Team Up McIntosh, the weight 1481. 6008 is Shane Dawson, the weight 1485, Jim and Kate Curtis, Daryl Christensen, Waddle and Reed. 6040 is Ava Warner, the weight 1491, sponsored by Chip and Joanna Meston, 15 Mile Ranch. 6022 is Americo Lorenzini, the weight 1500 even, sponsored by Mark Arndt and the Colorado Elks Association. 6002 is Jasmine Benning, weight 1516, sponsored by Mike and Eva Pugh. These are your lineup for Class 4. Folks, put your hands together for all of our exhibitors and our sponsors of Class 4. Judge once again is Ashley Judge from Loveland, Colorado. Originally from California, she grew up showing Angus and Shorthorn cattle, was a member of the National Champion Livestock Judging Team at Redlands Community College, Reserve National Champion Team member at Oklahoma State. She was the high individual in Louisville at the national contest. She gained her master's at OSU and was the assistant judging coach for 3 years while there. Ashley now lives in Loveland, as I mentioned. She helps run Beatty Livestock, and she also owns her own marketing company. Once again, our judge, Ashley Judge from Loveland, Colorado.
So my aunt and uncle were here from Idaho beginning of December, and they went with my uncle Niall, my aunt Kelly, my aunt Ryan, Johnson, Parker, and for some reason they took my mother's car. So my friend, so they all leave. Michael is driving, and my mom was like, "Oh, my car will not take care of." So I was just getting out of the shower, getting dressed, and I was going to go watch the last episode of our and I'm getting Tom would like to see you. He's requested your presence. And hey, Travis, Evie just said hi. Hello. Sorry.
Once again, 2 calves will be selected at the conclusion of today's show as the overall Grand and Reserve Grand Champion. National Western Stock Show Catch It Calf calves. They'll then be qualified for the Auction of Junior Livestock Champions, which will be held January 24th. The calves, which will be designated Grand and Reserve Grand, will be selected using a point system, which includes 50 points for record book, 40 points for sponsor relations, 25 points for interview, 10 points for production, 10 points for the live placing happening right now. Showmanship earlier was 20 points. Deadlines met is 5 points. Total possible scores 160. The 2 calves must have placed in the top 4 of live placing to be considered for overall Grand and Reserve Grand. Just to remember, all participants, you can pick up your record books and a tack release from the Beef Superintendent's office down at the bottom of the ramp after the show. Now, we did have the following sponsors of calves that did not make it to the show ring today. We'd like to recognize them as well. Jeff Nerlin and Chelsea Vineyard family, Jeff Wackman family, John and Vanita Collier, Colorado Elks Association out of Lakewood, as well as Bob, Denny, Ryan Anderson, Joey Cusimano from the Colorado Elks Association of Nevada. So thank you to our sponsors of those that had calves that didn't make it to the show ring today. We also like to thank the contributing sponsors of the Catch a Calf program, Don Norgren, Stock Show University, Sullivan Supply, Doctors Mike and Lori Scott, as well as Paul Hill of Purina Feeds at the University of Wyoming. Keep in mind all the calves purchased that you're seeing today were purchased from Wagon Hound Land and Livestock in Douglas, Wyoming. And if there's any representatives here today from Wagon Hound, wish you guys would stand and wave, but put your hands together for Wagon Hound Land and Livestock out of Douglas, Wyoming. Thank you. Great looking animals.
But there's a lot of other. Ace, get up.
And while we got just a moment, we're going to look ahead just a little bit after the live placing. And this last class gets their pictures taken with their sponsors. We have a whole lot of awards to work through. Special awards, the Herdsman Award, sponsor relations, record books, interview division winners, overall production phase, carcass phase will take place after the animals go to the rail. But we'll also be announcing those top two. So we've got a lot going on here in the award ceremony after the live placing is finished. But we'll have to have some time for them to get their pictures taken from this last class with their sponsors before we can move into that. So that's a look ahead.
Wait a second. It was parked on the cement and he went all the way through the garage.
He came up and went all the way through. And took out the
So it wasn't parked in the garage when it first happened. No,
it was up the hill. Came in.
It went all the way through.
That
physically hurts.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my gosh. I can't even. I can't.
No.
Oh
No.
my.
And I felt bad because my uncle was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And we're just
yeah.
What else are you going to do about it? Well, at first he tried to tell my mom he didn't think the brakes were working. And my mom was like, no. And then my foot slipped over and I couldn't get it off.
I know, so like the next day I was gonna start charging for tours because Neil brought Ethan by the next morning. And then my aunt came once and then she brought Soren. And then then my Uncle Michael took us to Hill to see where, because I guess they were supposed to go to breakfast at my grandma's house. Oh, it's a oldie but a goodie. What, you don't think it's an oldie but a goodie?
Thanks, Porter. I can't call Porter Augustus because Michelle named her dog Porter Augustus, and I don't want to get him nickname.
Great. Hashtag famous even if I'm making people laugh. How good are the that was last year. Yep. Okay, it's on there. Okay. Oh really? Yes. Okay. They've been consistent. Yeah, literally. Yeah, so like is there like something dropping? Yes. She's telling my story and snorted it. The only thing I said. They weren't bad. Right. So now it adds a sense about places, yeah, and get some of the good results here.
Do you have anyone out here?
Well, I'm just watching. Cues and I have to watch her that. Zeus is out here too. So she's right there. That's done. How good are these microphones?
How close this is?
I'm like, is this? I'm like, this. Yes, exactly. And apparently my story is now on the live.
I just got a text message from one of my former 4-Hers and said, "Are you at Kitchen Cap?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "You're creeping, but I can hear you on the live feed." So we're like, "Where's it from?" I'm like, "How are any of these on?"
So what do you think about
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, wanted to make sure we mention a special lady in the ring that's helping us out throughout the live placing. We don't want her to leave without her knowing how much we appreciated her judging today. But this will be her last set of reasons she's going to give you. But how about a big round of applause from Colorado for Ashley Judge. We appreciate her work today. So this will be her last class she'll judge in place. And then we get into all those awards. So thank you, Ashley. Privileged working with you, and we are so glad that you moved to Loveland, Colorado.
I'll be honest with you. I think that this, we get down to this last class, and these are the two hardest steers to try and place. I love both of these calves, probably for different reasons, and I guess both of them, there's one big thing that I'd like to change about both of them, and that's just they're awfully big. They're heavyweights. We got a 1485 and a 15 flat here, and I think for being the weights that they are, they hold it together exceptionally well. Just like you said, young man, it's not every day that you have a steer pushing that much weight that gets around like that and can hold themselves together. And I think that there's some differences between them. There's things that I'd like about both of them. There's things that I'd like to change about both of them. I guess what it really comes down to is when you get your hands on them, there's one that I think is a little bit more appropriate in his degree of cover and finish over that last rib, and one that I think is maybe just a little bit more wowy to look at from the side. Young lady, you're going to win this class today. Let's give her a round of applause. That steer is finished exceptionally well. He's very uniform when you get your hands on him. He's got a big top in him. He's plenty shapely and expressive. He's not the heaviest muscled steer that's walked in the ring today, but he's plenty heavy muscled enough for me. He's one that if I'm going to be super critical of him, I wish he was just a little bit softer in the center portion of his body and his flank, and he's maybe just pushing just a little bit more when you set him in motion up there through that front end. But I think that one, when she gets him out here, she does an awesome job of getting him shown. He offers that extra show calf look, that extra balance. You can tell that she's really worked on his hair, fed him right, done everything that she's supposed to get him to this point. I think she's done an awesome job with him. Young man that's going to be second today, let's give him a round of applause as well. That one's probably just a little bit more my speed in terms of the extra rib and softness and practicality that he carries through the center portion of his body. He's one that I think has got a massive top in him as well. Very muscular. I love the extra foot and bone that he goes down to the surface with. Comparatively speaking, he's maybe just a little bit rounder in terms of his hip structure. He's got a little extra set to his hock, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I think that allows him to get out and go. But from an aesthetically pleasing standpoint, he maybe just doesn't set down exactly as like I'd like to see. That's a practical market steer that's got a world of good in him. Young man, you've done an exceptional job with that calf as well. The one that comes out next, powerful. And the young man, when I was talking to him, alludes to the fact that he knows exactly what's wrong with him. He's so powerful and massive and dimensional, he just got to be sounder. He needs to be better in the angle to his shoulder. He's a little bit short and tight out of his hip. He needs to get out and grab the ground with more flexibility, but that's an exceptionally good market steer in terms of the mass and dimension and power that he has. Young man has done an awesome job with him. Young lady that comes out next, opposite end of the spectrum. That one's sound. He's practical. He's big ribbed. She does an awesome job of getting him shown. Probably shows him to max out his ability. I don't think that she could show him any better than she did. His biggest problem, he doesn't have the extra mass. He doesn't have the extra power, the extra muscularity of some of these other steers. He's maybe not quite as long and extended up there through that front end, but that young lady does an awesome job with him. She's maxed him out as much as she possibly can. The next two young ladies, I talked to them. They've done an exceptional job with these steers. They've done exactly what they were supposed to do. They fed them correctly. They got them to an endpoint where they're acceptable in terms of weight and they're good in terms of their finish. You know, comparatively speaking to some of these other steers, they're a little bit lower fronted, a little bit more upright in the angle to their shoulder. Maybe don't just get out and handle that extra mass and dimension and muscularity on a framework and a look that they need to, but certainly nice market steers in their own right. Young lady that comes out next is one that has a really long extended type of a steer. He's a little bit flatter in terms of the way he's constructed, and I talked to her, maybe just doesn't have the extras, but he's another one that she's done an awesome job with in terms of that one being 1,516 pounds, correct? And he still holds himself together like that. She's done a great job of keeping him together. Young lady that comes out next is one that's really long and extended. He has some mass and dimension. He's a little bit lower fronted. He's maybe maybe wants to break apart in his top line ever so slightly. Just doesn't hold it all together quite as well as I'd like to see, but a really nice steer as well. And like I talked to the young lady that's going to round out this class, that's a really good practical market steer. He's awesome in his rib. He's good in his degree of finish. He maybe just today is a little bit more jammed up compared to these other steers, doesn't get out and go like he needs to, and just doesn't have the extras to really win this class or get any higher in this group today, but she's done an awesome, awesome job with him. Let's give all of those kids a round of applause.
Thank you once again, Ashley. Great job judging once again. Here's the results on our last class as they go over and get their pictures taken. First place, 6008, Shane Dawson. Sponsored by Jim and Kate Curtis, Darrell Christensen, Waddle and Reed. Second, 6022, Americo Lorenzini. Sponsored by Mark Arndt and the Cobble Elks Association. In third, 6035, Mason Roberts, sponsored by Joe Adams. In fourth, 6039, Shelby Sinclair, sponsored by the one and only Dr. John Matsushima. In fifth, 6004, Courtney Carr, sponsored by Leslie Baldwin and the Betcher Foundation. In sixth, 6007, Samantha Kaza, sponsored by Trina and Kirby Kleiman, Dry Creek Livestock. Seventh, 6002, Jasmine Binning, sponsored by Mike and Eva Pugh. Eighth, 6040, Ava Warner, sponsored by Chip and Joanna Meston, 15 Mile Ranch. Ninth, 6018, Brianna Hurst Collins, sponsored by John and Sally Corkle and Tima McIntosh. So we're going to have a quick break here for just a few moments as we wait for our last class to get their pictures taken with their sponsors. So if you need to get you something to eat or drink real quick or use the restroom, we've got just a few minutes here before we get into the rest of our program. And we've got a lot to go. My apologies to the Koza family. My apologies. I've been saying it wrong. Samantha Koza. I'll try to remember as we move through the rest of our results. Well, we got just a few moments here. We once again want to thank our Stadium Arena sponsors. They include Weaver Leather, committed to helping you be the very best you can be. Stop by their trailer on the hill to check out their full line of show supplies, which is backed by industry experts. Weaver Leather is devoted to fueling your enthusiasm for showing livestock with educational clinics and innovative products at the National Western. Also want to thank Saunders Construction, locally founded in 1972 and now one of the largest and most stable construction companies in the state of Colorado. Saunders Construction offers well-paid positions with opportunities for career growth. You can visit www.saundersinc.com for more information on career opportunities. Also want to thank John Deere, the official agriculture and turf equipment provider of the National Western. Visit your local John Deere dealer for great deals. And remember, nothing runs like a deer. Hey, folks, if you're hungry and you got an urge for some great food while you're here at the National Western, don't forget the South Food Court, where you'll find mouth-watering ribs at Big Bubba's Bad Barbecue. Everything garlic at Garlicki's, and juicy hamburgers with all the fixins at Good Old Burger. Great service and great food at Big Bubba's. Also new this year, a sponsor, the Colorado Farm Show. Proud to support the National Western, and they invite everyone to attend the 56th Colorado Farm Show coming up January 28th, 29th, and 30th at Island Grove Regional Park in Greeley. If you eat it, drink it, or wear it, agriculture produced it. Check out the Colorado Farm Show brochures available ringside in the stands, or you can come up and get one from the announcer stand. Maybe even a bumper sticker. Complete details about the 56th Annual Colorado Farm Show is available online right now at coloradofarmshow.com. Once again, thanks to our Stadium Arena sponsors, Weaver Leather, Saunders Construction, John Deere, Big Bubba's, and the Colorado Farm Show. Don't forget the official livestock photographer of the National Western is none other than Show Champions. You can check out the pictures taken in the ring and at the backdrop and purchase pictures online at showchampions.com, the official livestock photographer of the National Western. Once again, just as soon as our final participants get their pictures taken down there with show champions at the backdrop, we'll have them tie their animals up, and then we'll have all the Catch-A-Cat participants come up, and then we'll announce the rest of the awards. So make sure your animals are tied securely to the rail, for those of you on the rail right now. And then when we get close to being done at the other end, we'll get into the rest of the awards. And we have a bunch of them. Folks, if you would, bear with me here just a few moments. I'd like to recognize a huge part of the National Western Stock Show. Our President and Chief Executive Officer is here, Mr. Paul Andrews. How about a hand for Mr. Paul Andrews and the entire National Western Stock Show board members? Thank you, Paul. They've got their work cut out for them the next few years. As you can see, all the construction going on around the grounds. I encourage you to check out the construction down in the yards. There's a building that you can check out all of what's proposed to take place over the next few years here at the National Western. Well, we'll get started here just as soon as we get pictures, or restart just as soon as we get pictures taken care of. And for those of you that are here for the Llama and Alpaca show, the scheduled start time was 1 o'clock, but we have quite a few awards to work through, so bear with us. Your show will start after we get done with our Catch-A-Calf award ceremony. Once again, Catch-A-Calf participants, make sure you have your animals tied up securely at the rail. And then as soon as they get the pictures taken on the other end, we will have you guys all come forward to the awards table area in the center of the arena, and then we'll start announcing awards. Catch-A-Calf participants, everybody else come on out here and let's form 2 lines or whatever you want to do right in front of the awards area. And we'll start announcing all of the awards for the different divisions. As soon as our last two participants get their animals tied up to the rail, we'll get started. Once again, huge thanks to Wagon Hound Land and Livestock out of Douglas, Wyoming. Can't say that enough for providing the animals for these projects. We'll now proceed with the awards portion of today's show. Don't forget, we're going to take pictures after each one of these sections, so don't forget, we got pictures. Our first is the special award. The Hawkins family from Atwood, Kansas has had 3 daughters participate in the Ketchikat program here at the National Western. They're big supporters of the program and have encouraged others from their county to participate. To recognize the hard work of this year's participants, the Hawkins family has engraved leather picture frames for each of the participants. As the participant's name is read, please come forward to receive your plaque and then get in line to take a picture. Jasmine Benning, Emily Carpenter, Courtney Carr, Rihanna Cheney, Sheridan Cheney, Samantha Koza. Hope I got it right this time. Samantha Koza. Shane Dawson, Paige Dennett, Blake Edwards, Bailey Fitzwater, Abby Forbes, Micah Goodman, Abby Haley, Reese Harvey, Paige Hastings, Judy Hawkins, Brianna Hurst Collins, Kirsten Hurst Collins, Dylan Johnston, Cooper Justice, Americo Lorenzini, Colton Malcolm, Carson Miracle, Cody Miracle, Damian Mason, Emmett Myring, Emily Miller, Jade Painter, Joel Painter, Caitlin Pearson, Grace Ann Prosser, Peyton Rife, Michaela Rippey, Mason Roberts, Luke Runstrom, Benjamin Shefferle, Trey Schill, Shelby Sinclair, Ava Warner. Folks, how about a hand for the Hawkins family of Atwood, Kansas for these plaques that are being engraved leather picture frames that they're presenting to all these participants. Well, we got just a moment, and we'd like to also thank superintendents of the Ketchikat program, Molly Keel, Amy Kelly, and helping us as well, Megan Seltzer. She got married, so I'm in trouble. But Megan, thank you guys. Thank all you ladies. I want to thank Ashley Judge once again and Amanda Schnorr, our 2 judges. We'll move on to our next category here in just a moment. It'll be the Herdsman Award. All right, we'll move on to the next category. But thanks to the Hawkins family once again. That's an excellent, excellent award. The Jim Perry Memorial Award for the Ketchikan herdsman will remain in the possession of the National Western Stock Show and will be displayed in the livestock office. Each year, the winning herdsman's name will be added to the plaque. The recipient also receives a belt buckle sponsored by the Colorado Elks Association and Mr. Kenny Burns, who's down there to present the award. This year's herdsman was nominated by their peers. From Laurel, Nebraska, Caitlin Pearson. And we got pictures. Kenny and his wife, Teresa Burns, out there to present that Herdsman Award. Jim Perry Memorial Award, Ketchikan Herdsman. What an awesome award that one is. Up next, we move to sponsor relations. Our sponsor for sponsor relations is Olivia Barden. She was a participant in the 2013-14 Ketchikan program and was recognized as the winner of this category. Olivia credits the Ketchikan program with developing organization and leadership skills that have carried over and enhanced her experiences in many other activities. Olivia is excited about the opportunity to continue to support the program by sponsoring the awards. Here we go. 10th place, Cooper Justice, Parkman, Wyoming. In 9th, Mason Roberts of Sutherland, Nebraska. 8th, Shane Dawson, Lander, Wyoming. 7th, Rihanna Cheney from Elwood, Nebraska. 6th, Samantha Koza from Colby, Kansas. There was a tie for 4th. And those two are Bailey Fitzwater of Wheatland, Wyoming, and Emily Carpenter of Scottsbluff, Wyoming. In 3rd, Reese Harvey, Lamar, Colorado. In 2nd, Sheridan Cheney from Elwood, Nebraska. And the winner, first place for sponsor relations, Americo Lorenzini from Weldona, Colorado. After pictures, we'll get to the record book awards. Record book awards. Bags will be provided for 3 members who have kept the best records on their calves. These bags are sponsored by Alicia Downing and Rob DeVoter of Wiley, Colorado. The record-keeping portion of the production phase equates to 40% of their overall score. Each contestant completes a separate record book, which helps them understand the economics, nutrition, as well as proper health care and feeding of the calf. Here are the top 10 contestants in the record book category. There was a tie for 10th. Sheridan Cheney of Elmwood, Nebraska, and Brianna Hurst Collins of Oglala, Nebraska were tied for 10th. 9th, Mason Roberts of Sutherland, Nebraska. We had a tie for 7th. The two include Jasmine Benning of McDonald, Kansas, and Emily Miller of Sidney, Nebraska. In 6th, Kirsten Hurst Collins of Oglala, Nebraska. In 5th, Bailey Fitzwater of Wheatland, Wyoming. In 4th, Colton Malcolm of Riverton, Wyoming. In 3rd, Shane Dawson of Lander, Wyoming. The top 2. 2nd place, Caitlin Pearson, Laurel, Nebraska. And in 1st in record book, from Colorado Springs, Colorado, Trey Shell. After this quick photo op, we'll get into interview division winners. The Ketchikat participants take part in an interview process. That process is worth 20% of their overall score. The participants had to give a 2-minute speech on. Often people have the misunderstanding the Ketchikat is simply a free steer that you get to take home and show at the National Western. How could you refute that claim and explain what the program has meant to you? So that was the question. They need to spend the remaining 3 minutes answering questions from the judges. The judges' scores were averaged to get the overall interview score. The interview winners and receiving an award sponsored by the Keel family. There was a tie for 8th place, 3-way tie for 8th place. So those 3 include Trey Shell, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Judy Hawkins, Atwood, Kansas, and Micah Goodman of Wiggins, Colorado. 7th place, Cody Miracle from Albion, Nebraska. 6th place, Brianna Cheney from Elwood, Nebraska. 5th place, Shelby Sinclair, Fort Collins, Colorado. 4th, Colton Malcolm, Riverton, Wyoming. And now the top 3. In 3rd place, Sheridan Cheney, Elwood, Nebraska. 2nd, Shane Dawson, Lander, Wyoming. And in 1st, for interview division, Emmett Myring, Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Up next, overall production phase winners. And then we'll be announcing the 2 livestock sale qualifiers, the overall grand reserve. At this time, we'd recognize the top 15 individuals in the production phase of the National Western Stock Show Ketchikat program. These scores are determined by combining points from the industry index, sponsor relations, and record books. The overall winner of the production phase will receive a belt buckle sponsored by the Ed Snell family of Wheatland, Wyoming. The second overall production phase winner will receive a belt buckle in memory of Jim and Doris Kester, longtime supporters of the program, and the buckle is donated by the Colorado Elks Association. In 15th place, from Atwood, Kansas, Judy Hawkins. 14th, from Parkman, Wyoming, Justice Cooper. 13th, from Wiggins, Colorado, Micah Goodman. In 12th, from Sidney, Nebraska, Emily Miller. 11th, from Lamar, Colorado, Reese Harvey. And now the top 10. 10th place, from McDonald, Kansas, Jasmine Benning. In 9th, from Riverton, Wyoming, Colton Malcolm. 8th, from Wheatland, Wyoming, Bailey Fitzwater. From Weldona, Colorado, Americo Lorenzini. In 6th, from Sutherland, Nebraska, Mason Roberts. In 5th, from Scottsbluff, Nebraska, Emily Carpenter. In 4th, from Elmwood, Nebraska, Rihanna Cheney. And then there were 3. In 3rd place, Colby, Kansas's Samantha Koza. 2nd, from Lander, Wyoming, Shane Dawson. And number 1 in the overall production phase from Elmwood, Nebraska, first place goes to Sheridan Cheney. We do have another phase that we don't announce at this time because the carcass phase of the contest will be completed following the processing of the animals on the rail. Additional premiums will be paid to the top 15 contestants, and the highest scoring member will receive a special award, which is sponsored by the Bill Wanaka family. Okay, folks, that means there's only one thing left to tell you. 2 of the Ketchikat steers will be allowed to sell in the National Western Stock Show auction of Junior Livestock Champions. These 2 youth members and their steers became eligible for this honor by placing highest with their combined scores from the record book, sponsor relation letters, interview, production phase, live placing, and showmanship, with the highest possible score being 160 points. And the calves must have placed in their top 4 of their live placing class. Here's the top 2 individuals that will sell the junior livestock sale. With a score of 152.6 points, your reserve champion, Catch a Calf, is exhibited by Shane Dawson and sponsored by Jim and Kate Curtis, Daryl Christensen with Waddle and Reed. Congratulations, Shane Dawson. Your grand champion, Catch a Calf, earned a total of 153.15 points of 160. It's exhibited by Sheridan Cheney, and the calf is sponsored by John Brown, Wilcoxon and Brown. Once again, in the ring, President and CEO of the National Western, Paul Andrews, is here. Thank you, sir, for being here. We appreciate it very much. 4-H members from Colorado, Wyoming, Western Nebraska, and Kansas will attempt to catch 40 calves during 3 rodeo performances at this year's National Western. We hope you'll take the opportunity to watch one of these exciting events next weekend. These successful individuals will receive their calves in May and show them here in January of 2021 at the 115th National Western Stock Show. Keep in mind the success of the 4-H Catch-a-Calf program over the years has been due to the cooperation of the National Western, the sponsors, the cooperative extension programs, and hundreds of 4-H members and families working together. Congratulations to all. Please don't forget to like us on the National Western Stock Show Catch a Calf Facebook page. All those pictures you see rolling through the slideshow, those are on the Facebook page too. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the staff, the Catch a Calf program. Thanks to the National Western. Hats off to all the Catch a Calf participants. Great job. Give them a big round of applause, folks. Up next, the Alpaca and Llama Show.
Test 1, 2, test, test. Test 1, 2, test, test.
Test.
Try that one instead.
Testing.
Okay. So I'll have the blue on. Yes. You were here yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, this one's pretty hot, so you don't have to have it real close.
Okay.
But just do a test on it.
Check, check, 1, 2.
A little closer.
Check, check, 1, 2.
Perfect.